folks who may be watching us on YouTube, we're just giving our regulars a few more minutes to get here, and then we'll get this party started. See you in a few. Hi everybody, welcome to the kitchen. We have some cool stuff to look at today. It's good to see all of you. Ray Franklin, how are you, my friend?
I'm well, thank you. All excited about another Zoom test kitchen. And now I know a little bit more about what everybody's been talking about because we're now have the full Zoom package with the phone and the calendar and everything. And so I've finally looked deep
Oh, really?
into the of what you've been talking about for so long. So it's starting to mean more to me.
Ah, so you bought into the whole thing now?
Yeah, Ivy is
Wow.
now it's myivy.info, and we're all learning because now we have a shared calendar. We have the higher, um, the better quality Zoom meetings, all
Wow,
that
that's
good stuff.
fantastic. That's great. Cool. So you're on a business plan. Fantastic. Ray Harwood, how are you, sir?
Hello. I'm doing
How's
well. How's everybody? Yeah.
Are you in a different is that a different setting than sometimes or no?
It's kind of normal. I'm not wearing my typical Zoom or yellow shirt. That's
That's
probably
the
what's getting you
problem.
off of there.
That's
So
the
yeah. Yeah.
problem. Yeah. Threw me for a loop there. Sorry.
Temperature dropped down a little bit. I had to put on the long sleeves today. So
Good to see you. Mr. Mike Latta, how are you, sir?
Doing fine. How's everybody in the kitchen?
We are
Or what are we
cooking.
cooking? What
We're
are we cooking?
cooking. Today we're cooking remote control. That's what we're
Uh-oh.
cooking today. Remote
So everybody's
control.
computers could be hacked by
That's
Mr.
right.
David.
I have the power. I will be hacking all of your. I don't know what to do with any of it, but I will be. Yes, we're going to be playing around with that for sure. Frank, good to see you, sir. How are you?
Good day, good day. I'm good. How are you?
Thank God. Good day. Good day. What time zone are you in?
Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, you're Eastern also. Okay, beautiful. I wasn't sure. Good to see you. Nice vases. Yeah. Robert, how are you, sir?
Hello.
Oh, wait, what was that? Hold on a second.
I said hello. It pops up when I say hello. See, you've got the
No, wait, are
power.
you
I've got the
serious?
control. You've got the power. I've got the control.
Wait, are you serious?
Hello.
Oh my God. No, you're pressing a button.
Sure, I'm pressing a button.
Oh, I thought, well, that would have been really cool. If every time you said hello like that, if you got something up, that would be very cool, actually.
No, I've just been playing with an ATEM Mini and some media files that I've been trying to define and set up. So for an event that I'm doing, and this is bottom thirds is one of the things we need to do for that event. So
You know,
it's
with shortcuts and Siri, I'm sure that we could create a lower third to pop up just with on a voice command, I'm sure.
um, and I've also been playing with Mimo Live a lot. So
Ah, nice.
yes. So if no one minds, while we start talking, I'm gonna set up a Mimo Live event and throw into Zoom because we've managed to get on the lab 10 ISO Zoom inputs into Mimo Live at 1080p.
Wow. Can you show us a little bit of that later?
Yeah, I will set it up while we're talking, and
Wow.
then I will show a quick demo at the end.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Very
And
interesting.
I see Hasmuk is here. And who else am I missing? Am I missing
Hasmuk's
anyone?
back from his holiday. Good to see you,
Oh,
Hasmuk.
Hasmuk was on vacation?
No,
Yeah.
he
Right.
says he's not. He says he's not back. Actually, he told me nope, not
Nope.
back yet.
All right. Then get out of Zoom. What are you doing? So we got a nice little surprise yesterday that probably went under many people's radar if they're not in Discord and friends with Andy Carluccio, or if they're not, just living by everything Zoom. A new app was released called Remote Settings Control. And so there were, according to the post that he shared, there were a few different problems they were trying to solve. One is if you're in a studio type setting, okay, wait, confirm your speaking language. I'm not speaking Polish, I'm speaking English. Yes, okay. Oh, should I have not done that, Robert? Did I just mess it up for you?
No, you didn't mess up anything. I don't know how that happened, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Okay, so in any case, so the first problem was when you're in a studio type setting.
You muted.
How'd
Something
I-
happened.
That's so weird. How'd I get muted? Sorry about
I've
that.
actually had that happen with a couple of clients here in the last week or so, where they've
Interesting.
done something, and I don't know if it's a hand gesture.
Maybe
But-
because my hands were up here. I didn't press a button. That's really interesting. Okay, well, let's see if it happens again. I'll keep talking with my hands to see if it happens again. So you're in a studio setting. You know you want to have original audio on all of the time. How can you set it to be persistently on? That was problem number one. Problem number two is when you are, say, for example, you're in a teaching setting, you're teaching music, and you don't want to have to worry about your students or the other people, or for that matter, you're producing a Zoom meeting and you don't want to worry about the other people needing to know how to enable original sound. How can we do that on their behalf? So what they did is really two things, with one of them being more of a platform than an actual app. The first thing they did is they now allow you to persistently set your audio to original audio. There is a plist file that you need to use. You have to download an app. There's actually, they created some really fantastic guides. This one is the one for Mac. There's also one for PC. If any of you are watching, you don't have access to these, or you're not in Discord, feel free to send me a message on Facebook and I'm happy to share it with you. But basically you download this, this installer, excuse me. There's the plist file. And you, when those two are working together, you now will be able to, your original audio will just be set permanently. You don't have to do anything, both on the back end and in your meetings. So you don't have to toggle anything anymore. Having said that, that means it is persistent. So this is not good for people who may just be using it from time to time. Even if you're using it 80% of the time, you don't want to do this because this is going to make it persistent all the time. The other fix is this, or to solve the other problem, is this remote control app that they released.
Sorry, can I just ask a question, Dave?
Please.
Before you get to the remote control,
Yeah.
this download that you're referring to, is it a patch on the client that you say it's permanent, or is it an app that you load or not load?
I'm not sure if Frank could answer that better than I, but this is, it says it's a plug-in. No, it doesn't. Sorry. It looks to me like this is actually a different client. Frank, do you happen to know?
I read it last night in the Discord, and then I went to the links Andy provided, and I think you download an app and you install the plist. Plist file if you're a Mac user. I think there's something comparable for a Windows user, but
It looks to me like this is actually another client.
oh, okay. So I haven't
A
done it,
different
but
client.
so yeah, that was interesting. It's in the Discord. I'm trying to find it right now. I'll put it in the chat if I look.
Yeah, I've got it. I can put that in the chat also. But see, you're downloading a Zoom client. Wait, let me go back a little bit. So you're downloading, what does that say underneath download? MSI. Download MSI.
So that's a Microsoft installer, like an admin installer that
Oh, okay.
Enterprise uses, and there's a bunch of flags in there when the IT person goes to roll out the install and push it across the network or whatever. There's a whole bunch of flags that turn on how the app behaves, whether you can have download updates, or do you want certain settings to always be persistent? How do you want the app to launch? Those are the sort of flags you can adjust in the MSI installer.
This is interesting. This looks much more complex. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but it looks much more complex on Windows than it does on Mac. With Mac, it looked like you literally just install it. But here, there's all these other steps, it looks like. I mean, it's not complex comparatively, but compared to the Mac, it looks PowerShell window. I mean, I'm not on PC, so I don't really know any of this, but let me go back to the Mac one. I don't know if there's audio here. Let me see if we can get some audio. Is there? No, there's no audio to it.
So,
If-
David, have you installed this?
No, so I've installed the app because, again, I don't use original audio all the time. So I don't want, yeah, no, I haven't.
I think if you right-click on the plist and do open with text edit, you'll probably see the variables inside the plist.
All right, open with text editor. What is this? Authorized text editor? Oh, for
So
goodness sakes.
it's probably very much like the MSI file. It probably just has variables about how the state of the app launches.
Well, there is not much here.
Original sound key might be one of the. Mike, do you know about this sort of thing?
Yeah, I actually just looked at the actual text file on that Andy provided in the Google Drive. And basically what this is actually doing is it's actually as you actually run the Microsoft installer, MSI. And basically what it's doing is it's actually hard coding into one of the probably numerous Zoom config files in as it installs. It actually will kick in original sound equals 1 is what I'm seeing in the actual command, which means that it's a flag, right? So original sound equals 0 or original sound equals 1, and that will override in the client itself going forward that original sound will be on all the time. Did that make sense to everybody? If not, I can get a little more layman if you would like.
Made sense to me.
Yeah, but you're smart. You know things. No, it's fine. I got it. I got
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So basically in the Mac world, obviously there are config files as well. I don't know if they're doing the similar thing, but they're probably doing that as well. I'll do a quick little peek there as well to see if that
It's
is.
the plist file.
What the piece that I don't understand, and again, I haven't done this. So you download the installer. Where is this installer from though? So this is download for IT admin. So it's a separate, it's a Zoom client. It's a separate Zoom client.
Not
Yeah.
for Windows anyways.
Yeah, the IT admin version is the one that
Oh.
enterprise IT people use to push over the network, and it has the MSI installer, which allows you to set the configuration flags before you push it out, and then the users on your network who get the app, managed apps on an enterprise situation will respond by the way that the IT person set up the flags in the installer.
So then it says place the plist file next to the installer. I'm not sure why they need to be next to each other, but you then do the installation? Just running through this
Okay.
again so I can use stop. Okay, install software. Then what?
Yeah, David, to me, what it sounds like in the Mac world, as compared to, see, in the Windows world, when you're doing an enterprise installation, they'll give you flags after the actual installation file. So it's, ZoomInstaller.msi, whatever they call that install file. Then what they'll do at that point, they're adding the flag of the original sound equals 1. In the plist file, it looks like the installer on Mac, if there's an accompanying plist file in the same folder, their installer will look for a plist file for additional commands.
Oh, that's why it has to be next to it.
That's
Okay,
what they
it's
mean
in the
by
same
next to it.
in the same folder.
Same
I
folder.
understand. Okay.
Right. Yeah, again, is that Zoom being bad on their communications again with same folder? Or
No.
next to?
Yeah,
But yes, same. So officially, it would be the same folder as where the installer is, because it's going to look automatically to that local folder for that plist file, and then the plist that says, "Oh, okay." And in here too, you could actually. My thought would be there probably are additional flags that you could actually put in this plist file if you really wanted to disable, enable things by default within the clients.
Yeah.
As you send this out into enterprise wise, like Frank was saying, to multiple Macs, like so the an IT department for a Mac farm of a corporation.
Gotcha. Okay, great. So that's the permanent solution. Oh, Frank, thank you. Frank just put some stuff in the chat about plist. Okay, so that's the permanent solution. So the remote settings control app. So I have it installed here in this meeting and in. Oh, wait a second. What did I just do?
Before you get too far into that,
Go ahead.
I think it's important to say there's a difference between remote control in Zoom, which is what allows you to take control of another user's computer in case you want to do like remote support, and the words you just said, which was remote settings control, I think is what you said, right?
So yes, and this is why I said before this is more than an app. So first of all, I'll just say if you just search the App Store or within the meeting for remote settings control, that's it there. I also put the link to that directly in our Discord. No one else has to have this app on their in the meeting. So as long as I have it, and this works for the host or a co-host. What's interesting about it is that this, I was talking with Andy about this. This really is meant to be the beginning of what we may be able to do in the future. So this is a platform in some ways, and we're getting to see just the beginnings of how we can use this or how we may want to use this. And so one of the things Zoom is looking for is actually insight from us about what other controls would we like to have in here. So you're right that it's different than the remote control that's built in, but in many ways it's using the same ideas or thought processes. And while this is very narrowly focused now, and even now it's not so narrowly focused, there's potential for it to grow. So what I've got here is I've got the app open right over here, and I can see everybody who's in my meeting. Now I can already tell you that this does not work with ZoomISO, presumably because of the build that's on. But I'm not, when I try and send an invitation to my ZoomISO machine, it doesn't receive it. But if someone would like to volunteer to receive my invitation, I'm happy to show you what happens.
Maybe tell them what you're going to do before they say yes or no.
No, absolutely
not.
No.
You want the suspense?
No. So what happens is you'll get an invitation. It'll say David would like to do whatever. I forget the exact language. Then what it's going to show me on my end is it's going to show me your video settings and your audio settings. I'm going to be able to see them, and I'll show them to you. That's all I'll be able to see is your video settings and audio settings, and I'll be able to adjust them. But every time I try and make an adjustment, you'll get a prompt that says, hey, David is trying to turn on original audio. Would you like him to be able to do that? That's the only thing that happens. So do we have a volunteer? All right, Ray Franklin. So let me turn this on. All right, so I just find Ray Franklin. I'm going to go ahead and click invite, and instantly you can't just invite everyone. And if people say no, they say no. So I'll go ahead and click Ray Franklin. You can see I've got it pending. So Ray, what are you seeing on your screen?
I saw a pop-up that said Zoom that basically gave me the introduction. And it said Zoom Test Kitchen is inviting you to use the Zoom app from remote setting by Zoom. May access your what have you, and then you just give permission by clicking open.
All right, so if you want to click open.
And I'm open, and I'm seeing a new panel on the right-hand side of my It was where participants were, and I have to move that. I have a new right-hand panel that says Control Requests. Zoom Test Kitchen is requesting remote control of microphone, speaker output, original sound setting, noise suppression, etc. And I can choose to accept or deny. And the team player I am, I've accepted.
Okay, so before we go any further, by the way, the request, the initial request that you get, it actually comes up in a bunch of different places. I believe it just came up just as a pop-up, but it's also, if you look in chat, you should see it
came
as
up in chat.
Yeah.
I saw it come up in chat. Yeah.
So it actually, it seems to come up in a few different places. So it shows as a direct message that I sent to you, which you can actually see right down here in chat. So now that he has accepted,
Now, excuse me, David, it does say up top that I can add the app. I don't need to do that,
no,
right? Okay.
because I can already see everything here. If you wanted to control other people, you can add the app though. So
No, I'm happy to do it. Watch it.
right. So what has happened now is Ray has moved from up here to down here under the remote control. And I can just see, because this was in many ways built specifically for the original sound issue, it gives you that one piece of information right here. You don't have to click or anything. Original sound is off. If I click on him, let me just do that one more time because I actually kind of like that.
So did I.
Yeah, you kind of click on him. You get that the waveform there, and you get this pop-up. You'll notice the new box here. A little birdie mentioned that this may be a little bit of an insight into some future UI UX design language. So now I can see all of his cameras that are connected. I could change his camera, but again, it would give him a prompt first. I can see whether he's using HD video, hide non-video participants, display participant names. And then under audio, I can see what mic he's using, all the mics that are available, all the speakers that are available, what audio profile he's using. So the regular one, Zoom background noise, live performance, personalized audio, or original sound. And then I've got also the 3 high fidelity, echo cancellation, stereo audio. So before we try this, the other thing you'll notice is, again, this was built around the original audio issue, is that there is this at the bottom. If I click enable, it says original sound for all, but it's really not for all. It's for anybody that has given me permission to do something. So if I were to click enable, Ray would get a pop-up that says, hey, David's trying to turn on original audio for you.
Go for it.
Well, we'll try. All right, well, let's do this one. So did you get a
And
pop-up?
so I got a question that says allow or don't allow. So I'm going to allow.
And now original sound is on and it sounds awful.
Yep.
Right. So, and at any point he can turn that off. And you can see also that for me, it changed over here. I can now see that original sound is on. And it immediately switched to off. So if you are, for example, if you're, teaching a class and you've more than one student and you want them all on, or you're doing a concert or something, it may be helpful to just click all. Incidentally, this does not affect me. There's no way for me to change my own settings from within this app. I still have to go on the back end if it isn't enabled on the back end, and then click in the top left corner. So let's just, what is something that I could, here, I'm gonna click high fidelity music mode because that doesn't really change anything. And again, just let us know if you got a pop-up there, Ray.
Yes, I did. I got a pop-up said wants to change your audio settings to high fidelity mode on. And I'm going to click allow. And now do you tell there's a difference because we've gone high fidelity?
Now you're in high fidelity. No, I don't hear a difference at all. But so I'll go ahead and turn that off, and then he'll get another prompt. Oh, you know what's interesting? Sorry, Ray, when I clicked the enable for original sound, it did two things. It changed your profile on the back end in settings to original sound, and it enabled original sound. But now that we've turned original sound off, it looks like your audio profile is still original sound. It's just turned off. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's
Do
interesting.
you have the switch up in the top where you can turn it on and off by yourself?
I did it where I normally do. Up in the top left, I can click on original sound for on, or it's on now and it's off now.
But I guess, but you didn't have that switch up in the top left before.
I've
I
always
clicked
had
in.
that. I always have that switch.
Oh,
It's
you
always
have.
displayed.
So I'm curious, would someone else who doesn't have original sound turned on in the back end?
You probably all do.
Yeah, we probably all do. I mean, you always, but wait a second, Ray,
I always have that original sound musicians on off option
you
up
do.
there on the left.
Can I try something? Can I switch it from
Absolutely.
original sound to Zoom back to the regular Zoom
Absolutely.
background? All right. So now do you still have that switch in the top left? It's probably gone, right?
That's correct. It is gone.
Okay. And so now if by the way, when I did that, I now have the noise suppression options of low, medium, high, or auto. So I'm going to put it back now to original sound,
I click allow.
and it turned it on. So yeah, okay. The one thing that Andy did mention to me, by the way, is that right now there are a lot of pop-ups and authorizations happening. I mean, every time you change any one thing, you get another pop-up. And he said there are changes coming to that, but this is the initial rollout of it.
Well, and one of them comes up. I forget whether it's recording or what, but it comes up in the top corner to alert you of something that you could take action for, but it doesn't. It's passive.
Right.
It doesn't actually do something, and where you have to actually say yes or no. It's only opt out, and since it's so small, a lot of people forget to opt out.
Right. Well, the live streaming one is up there also, right? And the audio transcription is
Would
up
you be
there.
offended if I revoke this?
No, go for it. Let's see what happens.
You want
No, do
anything
it.
else you want to try?
Let's see what happens.
Cameras?
Go ahead and revoke it, and go ahead and revoke it, and then, right, and so you can see that Ray just jumped right back up here. So you can take back control at any point. I'm thinking about when he was showing this to me, the first thing that I thought of was the dozens of people that I sit with who, why isn't my eCam audio coming through into Zoom? And it's because they haven't turned on original audio and they don't know how. Well, now I can just do it for them. I mean, yes, it's better to teach a man how to fish, but in a crunch, I can now just do it for them.
Could you do that in the waiting room before people get in?
Oh, that's interesting.
Because we get a lot of events where people are put in the waiting room and groomed and told things and what have you. I wonder if you have that capability to actually do it so that it's done before they come to the stage.
Why don't you try it? Can you put Ray in the waiting room?
Seriously doubt that's going to happen because the
Yeah, I
waiting
do
room
too.
is like the outer sanctum.
Ray, do you mind if I put you into the
Or
I
a breakout
can't.
room? Would it work in a breakout room?
Let's try it.
All right, now hold on a second. Let's see. Oh, you guys are, wait a second.
I don't think it's going to work in a breakout room.
Will I ever be
I
heard
actually
from
think
again?
it will. He told me it will work in breakout rooms.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
Because
unless
it's a breakout room's really a separate meeting ID, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
but
I
there's a
don't know.
channel where the host can actually make an announcement into breakout rooms. So the channel is available to communicate between the main session and the breakout rooms. And now I'm wondering, because there is a channel for you to actually make an announcement into the waiting room as well. So maybe.
So I went ahead, I just opened 3 rooms, and Lois is going into a room.
Hi, Lois.
So Lois, just so you know, because you're in a room, I'm about to request changes on your audio. and video. So you feel free to say no. Oh, I didn't. Sorry. I thought you had pressed down the button. Lois, I'm just letting you know that I'm about to send you an invitation so that you are giving me control of your audio and video. Feel free to say no if you want to. Oh, do you have to press this too? Oh, for goodness sakes. I've said the same thing now. Lois, this is the third time I'm trying to send you this message. I'm about to send you an invitation that you can either accept or reject that will allow me to control your audio and video.
Lois is back.
Lois is back.
I went to the breakout room. Nobody was there. I came back.
Okay, well, go back. But wait, before you go back, I'm
Yep.
going to send you an invitation when you get there. That's
Okay.
going to give me control over your audio and video. Feel free to reject it if you don't want me to control that,
I'll be
okay?
in room 1, waiting
Yes,
to
you
see
will.
what happens.
Okay. All right, so Lois is now going into room 1. She's there, so I'm going to find her on here, and she has disappeared.
Oh, and I can turn her mic on and off. I didn't realize that.
What do you mean you
As a
can turn her mic
co-host,
on?
I'm looking at Lois there, and I can. It says it just says her mic is turned off. That's all.
Yeah.
My
Right.
mistake.
She disappeared though from my list. I thought he said this would work in, maybe you have to be in the same room. Let me go in. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna I'm gonna go into this room and see if wait, how do I get into this room? Where am I?
Well, you enabled the breakout rooms, right?
Yeah.
So hover over the breakout
Oh,
room.
here,
and
I
click
got it.
join.
I got it.
There
All
you
right, I'll
go.
be back in a second.
Hi, David.
Anybody miss David?
Who?
Who?
I
So
remember
clearly-
David.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember him finally.
He's a good fellow.
So clearly they're in the room together, and I see David's mic is working. Both cameras are on. Now Lois is speaking.
So Ray, I actually see this for a green room sort of a thing that, someone comes on and they're talking and they can't do anything and then they type in chat, I can't get my mic to work. Being able to really try and take care of that externally as opposed to chatting through and
It's incredibly efficient. I mean, it would be,
Yeah.
and in most cases, they don't know what the heck to do anyway. So describing it to them is it's a waste of time.
right. Go down to the mute button, click the little caret thing next to it, just acknowledge the prompt that you're about to get. Yeah.
Right. And indicate that it's routine. This is not something we're doing, to embarrass you. This is done to make you feel better and present better. So
Yeah, but
It
you
won't
can do
help
that
your
like
spelling.
if you've got Zoom events, you've got backstage. Easy to do backstage where you've got the time and you're not bothering anybody.
right. It would be a treat. Mike has
Yeah.
now joined the breakout room because he
I
wanted
feel
to
left
leave the
out.
sinking ship. Don't everybody leave and leave the two Rays here.
We all know who to talk to.
Ray.
Ray. You talking to me?
So David is still there and doing the test. I wonder if we could listen in. I guess if I joined on another computer and could send the audio back so we could hear what's going on with. I don't have that
I
switching
could do that with my
capability.
vMix, but it'd take me 20 minutes.
Are you in a two-party consent state?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, what we have here is a failure to
Dude.
communicate.
Does that apply to Zoom meetings? I read that it doesn't apply to Zoom meetings because you're in a public space. It only applies to individual communication between people. Anyone can join this meeting, so it doesn't apply.
And
Hi,
and
David. Welcome
has.
back. You're
You're
muted.
Zoom muted.
Sorry, this has been really trippy. Trying to because every time I go to the breakout room, it takes up my screens get all weird. Okay, so when I first went to the breakout room, I could not. I saw all of you still in the app, but then I came back here for a brief moment, and I saw only the two people that were in the breakout room in the app. So then I went back in the breakout room, closed the app, opened it up again, and I saw them in there. So you can control people's audio and video, but you have to be in the breakout room with them. And this is, version 1. And so I needed to shut down the app and restart it in order to capture who's actually
So
where I am.
while you were gone, we discussed how this would be great in the green room in a
Yeah.
Zoom events, something like that, where you could actually, instead of telling people what to punch and how to set their stuff up, you just do it for them.
Exactly. Yeah. Lois, go ahead.
Here's a report of what happened to me in the breakout room. I went there, he came, nothing happened. He went away, he came back and then said, I'm giving you an invite. There was an invitation to get an app, something I hadn't had before. And I did, and I gave him control. When I came back here, the app is still open on the side here, and it says that you still have remote control of my Zoom settings.
That's
Even
right.
Came back. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but even though I came
No,
back,
it is true. And I'm
Is it
so glad you
because
said
she
that.
added the app?
Yes.
Is it because she added the app?
No, it's
now-
because she not only did she add the app, but she also said she enabled it. She said yes.
She consented. Yeah.
Right. Once she consented, now that you can consent anywhere, and it seems that it's persistent from one place to another place. So
the
I
add the
now,
app thing that came up with it should not show up. It's confusing. People think that that's part of the process, and that add
oh,
the
you mean
app.
downloading the app? Yeah.
Right. That was distracting to me. I didn't click on it. Lois is more adventurous, of course.
Right.
I didn't have the app, so I knew it wasn't going to work without it. So
Well, it actually does work without it. You don't need the app installed. Yeah. So at least that's what I was
See,
told.
it is confusing.
Yeah, it's unclear to me why that is happening, because I was told that you don't need the app for it to work. But so I can now still see and control all of Lois's audio and video.
Further report. At the very top of that, there was a little blue thing says add app. I hadn't actually finished adding it. So now if I clicked on that, it would give me the opportunity to add the app. I don't have the app in yet.
Oh, all right.
So that's even more confusing.
I agree. Because you don't need the app, I'm not sure why they're inviting you to.
It's a
download
host
the
app, right? It's not for the
host or co-host. Host
Right.
or co-host, yeah. Robert, did you want to say something, or were you just looking for local record?
Local record, please.
Did you
On the Mimo Live recorder.
Yeah, but start recording local vote. But don't you have to ask me for?
Well, I have just asked you. Please, can
No,
I
no, no.
have local?
No. Isn't there a button that you
Yeah,
press?
plus press the record button.
You have
at the
to
bottom.
click
No,
the recording button.
Because
and
you
then-
can request right now.
Yeah, but if I can request.
Yeah, there's nothing for me to do.
Okay, just a second.
So in any case, so getting back to, so it is interesting to me that it once you give it, you keep it from breakout room to main room, unless the person takes it away, obviously.
Do you keep it?
Carry over from leaving the meeting and coming back to the
Yeah,
meeting.
that was my question.
I'll try it. Bye, guys. I'll be
Bye.
back.
All right, so
Lois,
just, and
the
I'm gonna,
adventurous one.
she is, so, all right. let me get
Unmute
this.
persists between meetings, and you can go into your preferences and see who you've granted that privilege to and remove them between
Right.
meetings. I'm wondering if it works like that.
All right, so here comes Lois back in, and I'm keeping this up here, so I still have, it looks like I still have, but I don't know. So
Lois.
To find
Lois, are you there? So Lois, I'm I'm going to change some, if with your permission, I'm going to change your audio profile. Is that okay?
Why don't you just change the camera? It's the easiest thing to see.
Change the camera, okay. I'll go to OBS virtual cam,
Sure.
and you'll get a pop-up because you'll again need to authorize that. Did you get the pop-up, by the way?
I don't have anything on the side there for it to
Yeah,
pop.
so
Where-
check your chat. Check the chat also, because it also comes in the chat.
Chat is empty.
Okay, so it's interesting. It looks like I still have it, but I don't. Let me hit the refresh button and see what happens.
But is chat where you would find this?
So
It shows up in multiple places. I
shows
had
up
it
in
show up in
multiple
chat
places.
and on the gallery view, Lois.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And for what it's worth, let's say you authorize in the gallery view or in one place, the other pop-up will not go away. You can press enable and it will just refresh the app. It doesn't bother it. So when I refreshed the app here for you, Lois, I got no response from user. Please ensure they have the app open or end control and invite them again. So clearly when you leave a meeting, you
Okay, now it
lose,
just came up. No, that's something else.
no, clearly when you leave a meeting, you lose connection
Mhm.
to the person, which makes sense to me, I think.
Okay, so down in the bottom of my screen, there's something that says apps. And when I click that, I get a list of apps, but I don't see, I have remote settings control. Was that you?
That's it. Yes, that's the app. I just put in the chat that if you don't have the app installed, you can click on apps, click on add apps and type the word remote in the search string, and it will bring this up and you can actually install it kind of anytime from here.
And I didn't install it. I read it and it said that I would control other people. I didn't want to do that. So I did not install it. So I do not have the app installed, but when I click on apps, I got a little tiny line. And when I clicked on that, I got his notice.
Ray Franklin, do you see it in your list of apps when you go to your My Apps?
Let me
Yeah.
check. I have a little one next to the caret. Collaboration, who can see, this is collaboration options.
No.
Apps, click on apps. And I
Just
don't.
click on the
nothing.
apps button itself, not
Yeah,
the up
I am.
arrow.
And so
Okay.
what came up is control requests. You have no pending invites. That's the only thing that came up. No apps came up.
Okay.
I'd like to point out that some people don't have the apps button. I don't allow the apps button at my organization. Apps have to be vetted for privacy and security before we'll allow them.
I
So
have an
that's
apps
interesting.
button,
But I
but-
wonder then, since you can't, okay, Frank, if I promise you can revoke it right away, I promise I won't touch anything and I won't even show my screen. I'm just curious if this will even work with a client that doesn't allow apps.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
Oh, you are? Okay.
It's about installing and first of all seeing the list of apps from the Zoom marketplace, and then secondly allowing people to request them. We don't allow it.
No, but my question is, when I send an invite to someone, they are not only they're not prompted
I
to
understand.
accept the invite. They're prompted to open the
I
app.
believe if you install it, it sends the telemetry to me, but in my organization, I wouldn't be able to download the app and have the host function.
But I would still be able to
Yeah.
control.
I'm-
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All
So, David, opening that little side window again, which I was able to figure out how to do, it says that you have remote control. I could revoke it, but I haven't. And it says you have remote control.
It says that I have remote control.
Zoom Test Kitchen has remote control of your Zoom settings. And then there's a red button that says revoke if I don't want you to do that. And below it says all the things that I have on that you could control.
So I'm refreshing my app. I have a feeling that's just old because I don't have control. at all.
Well, why don't you ask me for control and see if it changes?
Okay.
Now there's something that it says, as they want to invite you to use a Zoom app and ignore or open. Okay, I'll open. And now we have it refreshed it. It says you have control. And it says you've already done something to my audio profile, which is kind of weird.
But I still don't have control. Did you click open and then?
I'm going to revoke control. We'll start all over. I'm revoking.
Okay.
It is revoked. The Zoom test is requesting remote. Now something came up with a request. So I'm
Right.
going to deny that and we'll start all over.
Okay.
Okay.
So what you were looking at
rights.
before, Lois, that was old stuff. That was artifacts from the last time we did this. The one that you just denied, that was the one that I just sent. So I'm going to send you another one.
Okay, here it comes. And I get 2 windows. Again, it is that I could open the remote settings, which I'm not going to. I'm just going to accept your control request. And it's now there.
Right. And now I've got it down here again.
Okay, change my camera.
Change your camera. Okay. So I just changed it to OBS virtual. The problem is I think you only really have one camera
No,
open right now.
I have to say allow.
Right.
I have to give you, I say allow. So you did
Oh,
it.
so there you go.
There's the OBS screen.
There's the OBS camera, which is
There you
not
go.
in use at the moment. So, well, you could
And now
change it.
you can change it back, or I can also invite you to change it back.
Okay.
I mean, this is really, you know, when we were talking about, again, this as sort of a platform and what could we build on this? The first thing I said to him when I saw those nice little, the little waveform, here, let me refresh this, the little waveform thing that we get here, the first thing I thought of was, oh my goodness, put some meters in here. Give me some meters in here so that I can see the different audio that's coming from each of these mics. And now when we just did that, Lois, I'm thinking I would love to know, which of these cameras is actually active. That would be fantastic so that I can.
They're all active, as in there's an input into Zoom. The program that's driving that input
Right.
isn't getting anything out.
Right.
But as far as Zoom's concerned,
No, you're right. You're right.
Really come.
You're absolutely right.
and Zoom
Yeah.
couldn't tell.
Right.
One
John,
of the things that you
hold on
might-
one second. John just has his hand up. I just want to get John in. And then Ray, I want you to, you sent a request to me. I want you to send a request to me also so that we can see it from the host perspective. But John, sorry, go ahead.
Thanks very much. Our question is going to be in a Frankish direction. Let's have a look at these app situations vis-a-vis security, because I do a lot of events where I have a lot of external people, a lot of medical people come in from health authorities, and what I don't understand, and I've played with different apps and I'm still not sure what the rules are. There are obviously rules about who can and cannot run apps. When you're running a event or a meeting, anything, on your own account, on your own login, you've got the settings which say I can have an app, I cannot have an app. Within an organization, that's fine. But when we're bringing in people from other organizations, I'm really not clear on the rules. So if I, for instance, bring Frank into a meeting that is on my account, and Frank obviously has good security measures on his account, whose account rules rule, so to speak. So in the case of this app, I want to get remote control of him because he's speaking on my event. But whose security settings are going to say whether he's going to be able to accept that? In other words, can he, when he's on my event, accept it to be in my app, in my event, being controlled by me, and still retain the security on his own system when he's back in his own login, in his own event?
And further to that, John, does he even get the prompt to allow him to allow you? Is the security so tight on someone's end, and under what circumstances, that you can try to control them, but their system won't let you through?
Exactly. To be honest, we need a very, and probably you and I are going to ask now. We need a very clear indication now. These apps are getting very involved. We need very clear indication of the security rules that Zoom has implemented. Otherwise, somebody's going to pick holes in this and going to cause a stink, because the security rules are where. If you set security rules for your computer, does that apply wherever your Zoom goes? But then if you log into a event and you haven't logged into Zoom, which we know you can all do, where are the rules going to be? That's data security. What's the security about apps? Because
Right. So
the apps, the details about the app security, and I'm writing apps of my own, so I've been looking into this. The details of the app security is too vague. Either it's got to be global. In other words, you set security settings. It doesn't matter where you go, those security settings are set, and I don't believe that's true. Or are the security settings dependent on the event that you're at?
So I was just
I won't
bringing
talk
up,
anymore. I'm going to go around in circles.
no. So Frank, I'm going to let you jump in, but I just wanted to let people know that there is, and I'll pop this in the chat. There is a whole page that explains this. About how to install from the Zoom app marketplace, how to use it. It talks about how to use it as a remote participant, that you don't, it says, if you don't have the remote settings control app installed, you may be asked to add the app by the host. Otherwise, this app can be used in guest mode. So that's what it's called. And then at the bottom, there is a whole thing about data security and what specific requests could be made. So I don't know, Frank, do you want to jump in about the security piece?
Not really. So I put that the information you just shared is in the chat earlier. I put that link to that page earlier. So another confounding aspect to this is that people who work in the medical field have a different Zoom client. It's a HIPAA client, and I think people who work in industries that have fiduciary responsibilities, like the stock market, have a different Zoom client. My intuition is that the security of your particular client is based on your home organization's global settings and not the meeting hosts from another organization. That's my intuition, but I don't know for sure. That way, imagine you were having a meeting with someone who worked in securities and finance, and they came to your meeting as a representative of a bank. I don't think the bank's going to want the host's security settings overriding what the institution has decided for all of their employees. If they did allow that, that's a huge security problem, privacy problem. I think in the States it's the FCE or FEC, Federal Exchange Commission, would probably have a huge problem with that.
Yeah, the one thing that I wanted to add that, Frank, I think we're going to have to be more specific. I don't think it's client-based. I think it's account-based. Meaning
that's what I'm saying too. So my organization owns a Zoom account with 30-something thousand users. The client comes from us. We configure the global account settings and what's permitted and what's not permitted. And just because they visit some other organization's meeting doesn't mean every single setting goes out the window, is my intuition.
Right. So in theory, for them to go to just a regular account or even a free account, so they would have to log out of the school account in this case and log in as a free account, then there might be, the client might react differently. Am I right or wrong with that?
I'm not positive. I think what I said earlier to David is true. I think at my organization, you wouldn't be allowed to download this app without us, without the admins of Zoom at my organization allowing it. But I still think that because there's a guest mode and because David has it installed as host, I think he could send me a request to do it and it would probably work.
Would you be okay if I sent you a request? You don't have to.
Send one. Let's see what happens.
All
Is
right.
the restriction is on what the person sitting there can do, like you can't download an app, but if somebody else sends you something, that's different.
I got the invite from you, David.
All right.
Are you
Don't
able
disappear.
to-
You got us worried then.
Are you able to accept? I'll
Yeah,
keep my hands up here.
I opened it and
Oh, okay.
I accepted.
Yep, yeah, I see it there. I see it there. All right, you take it away if you want. Okay, interesting. So it really is, it's interesting why Zoom is even introducing the app to users as opposed to guests. I don't know how to, you know what I'm saying? Someone help me out here.
You need it on only one end, not on
Right.
both.
Why do the users even need to know about the app when
Well,
unless trying to sell it?
because David,
Host in a
I-
different week.
I'm sure that when you launch the app as the host or co-host, and I've got it up as well as a co-host, it needs something to talk to, and it can't just talk to your client app through the regular Zoom client. It can only talk to through the cloud, apparently, this software which would be attached to your client. So the two apps have to talk to each other in order to talk to the clients.
But there's
And
nothing in this
I don't
operation I
have
can
to.
see that's not the API. The standard API, I can write some code now, and I can request to turn on cameras. I can request to turn on sound. What I'm not sure about is there anything in this which is not within the standard API that people can do anyhow? And write code.
I would say no, because there are restrictions on the actual client of whether or not it can take a direct API. The general answer to that is no. You have to have something that's listening to the API. And I believe that when the client is talking to the Zoom cloud, it uses some kind of security measure and says, I'm only talking to Zoom. I'm not talking to anybody else unless an app attaches to me that is cleared by Zoom to run alongside the Zoom client.
So
That would be my guess.
There
But
is
wait, I
a
don't have
there is
an app.
there is give us 1 second, Lois. So there is a page on the Zoom developers site that a little birdie just directed me to that explains guest mode. So Zoom enables meeting participants to join meetings without requiring authentication. Guest mode extends this feature to Zoom apps. Authenticated users can add a guest mode enabled app and invite unauthenticated users to use it in their meetings. So as an example, Bob is an authenticated user and has added the project schedule app to their meeting. Bob invites Jill, an unauthenticated user, to join their meeting. By unauthenticated, I'm assuming that means they don't have the app. They have not installed it. The app has guest mode enabled, and Jill can use the app in the meeting to collaborate with Bob. Discover unauthenticated users may only use an authenticated user's application for collaboration. They cannot discover or initiate. They cannot send invitations. They cannot access REST APIs. They cannot access certain Zoom APIs. And this really is about, I remember, forgive me for not remembering the name of it. There was an app that we were playing with a couple of years ago, which really took breakout rooms to a whole new level. But the big downfall was that everyone had to install the app. And so what this does is it allows people to reap the benefits of app usage without having to download the app. Sorry, Lois, go ahead.
David, look at your screen. No, don't. Let me get you back. I'd have to pin you so I could get to you. If you look at your screen, it says users can operate in 3 states: unauthenticated, not signed in with Zoom; authenticated, authenticated with Zoom, but does not have the app; and authorized. The user has added the app and granted the required scope permissions. So when you were talking about unauthenticated, that means you're not registered with Zoom.
So unauthenticated means they're not even signed in with Zoom. Authenticated, okay.
means they are
So
signed.
then, right, but then where is guest mode? I guess what I don't understand is guest mode. So there's these
Guest
three,
mode referred to unauthenticated, I thought.
Guest
right,
mode
but
refers to
but
the app, not
but
to
if
the person.
but if you all don't have the app installed, but you're all authenticated users in
No,
Zoom.
surely we're all guests. Surely
I know, that's what
authentication mode is
that-
the people in the organisation that have logged in.
No. It's not what it says.
I'm not sure that's the case.
App opens in guest mode and
If
sets
guest
the
mode
state
is
to-
allowed on an account, the user can use an app upon invitation from an installed user without actually authenticating. Okay, I think that the word we're getting hung up on is authentication. Yes, you can be an authenticated user of Zoom, or you can be an authenticated user of an app, meaning you have it installed, I think.
There was a process when I installed the app that it asked me to allow.
Right.
So I think that might be the authenticated portion that they might be talking about then at that point. Because I did have the choice to allow or not allow.
Okay, so when I just installed it on my account, it gave me the choice of all users on this account, or I can just set a group of users. So I can say, in my organisation, I want the admins to have this app running. Of course, the next stage is, well, what happens in browser? Browser-only users.
It did say specifically, David, I think it says there that you have to have the client, correct? Minimum? There was a line that said minimum. You have to have the client
Let's
X
see.
installed, I believe.
Prerequisite Zoom account, Zoom desktop. Well, this is to use the app, not to receive and accept the request. To use the app, you have to be in the client. But let's see how to install. Okay.
Oh, so John, your question was more if I'm going through Zoom through the web.
Yeah, if I
interface.
come in as a browser, is this allowed or not? Because the browser version is getting ridiculously sophisticated now.
It says
The
here,
browser doesn't have control of your camera.
no, sure it does.
So the prerequisite says a Zoom account and the Zoom desktop client 51610 or higher.
No, but that's for the host, meaning the person who has the app. What we're wondering about is people that we want to control, the recipients of the invitation. So how to use the app as a remote participant? Join a Zoom meeting. It does not say whether it needs to be in the client or not. We should try this, is what we should do. Someone should join from a browser.
I'll come back on a browser.
Okay. All right. We'll see you in a few. Bye. Thank you. And then it says you may be asked to add the app. Otherwise, the app can be used in guest mode. So there's that guest mode again. Host will request. Okay. Click accept. You'll allow to change. Optional. Click revoke. Oh, here, pursuant to what we did before, these permissions are automatically revoked if the host or co-host leaves the meeting, as well as when the meeting ends. Well, it's interesting. It doesn't say when you leave the meeting as the participant, but that we showed that was true also. I think we did, at least. Okay, so here comes Lois from her browser. So I will go back over here so you can see what I'm doing. Hi, Lois. Are you with us yet? Oh, you're just muted.
In order to get in on a browser, I needed to copy that link. So I'd come back.
You're still in your client. Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I'll be back if I can figure it out. I haven't used the browser in a long time.
Okay, thanks.
I've just found a document on Zoom developers about guest mode. And I'm not going to read it, but I'm going to just take the advantage of the note. In Zoom apps for webinars, applications for attendees support only guest mode to preserve their attendees' privacy. So that might make it even more complicated.
So I believe Frank has just come in from a browser, from his phone, looks like. Oh, we have double Frank. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Triple Frank would be even better.
Triple Frank, yes, triple Frank would be pretty good. Okay, so Frank on mobile, I'm going to send you an invite. So we're checking mobile with Frank. And when Lois comes back, and we'll check a mobile browser. So Frank, did you get anything?
I'm reading it now. Give me a second to
Yeah.
understand what it says.
Sure. So I'm going to. Hi,
It's
Lois.
not.
How are you?
It sends me the invitation. Then when I try to use it, it says it's not supported.
Okay.
This app is not supported on mobile device.
Okay.
The
Great to
mobile
know.
device is a client. Zoom has multiple clients. So to go back to John's issue earlier, or his suggestion, I'm going to log out because I think I'm getting some feedback here. HIPAA requirements. They have a client for medical, which is different from, like, I think all of us here are on the vanilla client. But you said earlier today it didn't work in ZoomOSC or Zoom. That's a different client, right? So if you're like, I'm aware of the HIPAA client, but I don't have any experience with it. But maybe the people who have Zoom HIPAA licenses, maybe their admins have different security protocols and settings available to them than the vanilla client would have. And same thing with the ones that are about, they have clients for government, they have clients for people involved in stock market securities, all that stuff. So there's different clients. I don't use any of those clients, but maybe they have more rigorous security settings available to those admins.
Okay. So we're gonna try this now with Lois. So Lois, I'm gonna send you an invite. So we can't hear you, Lois. While she's working on that, see here. So according to Zoom, the prerequisites cover both users and guests, and it's desktop client only.
Yes. Yeah.
Prerequisite for using the remote settings control app, a Zoom account, Zoom desktop client. So I'm getting lost in the language a little bit here, because when I said using the remote settings app, I was imagining the person who initiates, but it's both sides. It's both sides. So, oh, did we just lose her? Oh, she's back. And she's.
So the other limitation that I think applies is it does say Zoom desktop client Windows and Mac. So if you are a Linux user or Chrome OS or something like that, no, currently. And like the original launch of Zoom Events, which you could only really get to well from Windows or Mac, and you could kind of get to it from the browser, but it was really clunky at the very first. They very quickly built it out so you could get to it from most anything, and I suspect something like this will probably get built out like that too.
Yep.
I agree. The Zoom desktop client is always the most fully featured client. And then if you go on the Zoom support site and you go client feature comparison, there's a table that shows you the features of each client, and the further away you get from the desktop, the more and more features drop off. But that's not to say that Zoom couldn't code something in the future to bring some more parity to the other clients, but for right now, it sounds like you can only do this on the desktop client.
And I don't know if you can trust the AI things out there, but I just asked two questions. Number one, what version of Zoom is the Zoom SDK? I guess first, the ZoomOSC, what version of the Zoom SDK is it using? It's 4.3.0. And what version of Zoom is the Zoom SDK 4.3.0 based on? And it says it's based on version 5.4 of Zoom. So anything that has really come out since then wouldn't really be able to be controlled through ZoomOSC.
Lois, you are on your browser, and I've sent you an invite.
And hold on a minute, I have to figure out how to turn on chat on this.
And we can hear you, which is good.
Yes, I changed from the Firefox to the Chrome because Firefox was going to have me go and have my Mac change settings so that it could deal with something. Anyway, this is working. Now, collapse all the way to the bottom. That's not.
We already know the answer to this, but Lois doesn't. So because she has been jumping. So we're going to go through this exercise just for you.
I do not have an invitation from you. You said
you don't.
No, it has not arrived.
You're not going to get one. I'll try it again.
It doesn't surprise me. Can you type something into chat and see if it shows up?
So I've now sent you an invitation, but
no, not to me. I sent you a message that says hi. Can you see that in the chat?
I can see that too.
Okay. So then
it is only supported on the browser. I'm sorry, on the client.
Not supported on the browser. Okay.
Yeah. Apologies. And
so that means you can't kick me over as long as I stay here, huh?
That's right. That's right. I have no control over you.
Well, you never have control over me anyway.
And I did get some clarity on some word definitions. Users is anyone. Authenticated users, in this context, authenticated users are those who have installed the app. Guest users are those who are invited to the app. I still have the question of, if you don't need the app for this to work, installed on the guest device, why, when I send an invitation to participate with me in this app, are you getting an invitation to the app itself?
I think that's just marketing. They want more people to download their essential business apps or whatever they call them.
And it makes sense if we're doing this, that at some point I might be hosting a meeting and need to do it. And so if I've got the app, they would be happier. I don't think I have any apps installed at all. Guys, I don't like this being the outsider. I'm going to go away and I'm going to come back.
Come back in.
Can we change the focus of this for a second? I think if you're going to use this, I think in my organization, I would suggest there's some etiquette that needs to surround this. Like, do you need to put in the meeting invitation when you send it out, be aware that I'm going to ask for permission to do things? Do you need to say something at the beginning of the meeting, like put up a slide saying, at some point during the meeting, I may ask for control? Obviously, the Zoom UI does that for transparency's sake, but it might be quite shocking to people for that pop-up to show up in a meeting. Do you need to tell people in advance of the meeting that that's how you want to run the meeting?
I think it's context sensitive. Like if you were going to conduct a music class and everyone was going to use original sound, you probably would go, in order to participate in this class, you're going to have to agree to turn on original sound or whatever settings that you want to use. If you're going to have a fairly large meeting and you have a couple of speakers coming in, or maybe it's a webinar and you've got panelists, I would say, until someone arrives that goes and can't talk, or their camera's dark and all you hear is audio, you then have to go, okay, do you mind if I assist you by, running this app? You will have to, acknowledge it in order for me to help you in this particular case. That'd be
I know for a long time people have been asking for some other role in Zoom besides host, like producer or director, for people who facilitate events where they want quality video and audio. This seems like it's taken us one step closer to that, especially with production studio. But if this is not just for a meeting, but maybe you're streaming or something, I think it's a useful tool. But I also think maybe I would want to prepare my guests that I'm going to do this in advance, and also it kind of gives you an inventory of their audio and video hardware. So maybe meeting a day before or 2 days before with the people who I might want to spotlight, I might want to do this to inventory their equipment and do a sound check and a video check. We do that a lot for our productions. We usually meet with people in advance and make sure that their internet's robust. We meet, their sound's good, their framing's good. If you also had a camera, like, I don't know if it's the tiny 4K Osbot or one of those cameras where you can take control over IP. Now you can do their framing, you can do their audio, you can do a whole bunch of things. It's really useful for people who are trying to do more professional production.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Frank. This is a production tool for pre-event rehearsal and prep work. I find it hard to believe that you can throw this into a meeting where people will be surprised, and because most people won't know about this, and by the time they learn about it, it'll be a couple of meetings down the line. And there's also the question of legality. What permissions do you have to have in a certain country to be able to use this? So there's a couple of issues open there.
I mean, it seems to me that Zoom is asking you every time I want to do anything. You have to say yes from the get-go to even let me see what you're doing, and then every time I want to do something, it asks you again. I don't see how you could be more protected from
Transparent.
I don't know.
I think it's part of their culture, though. Remember all the criticism they got at the beginning of the pandemic? There was a big backlash, and lots of organizations were saying Zoom's ridden with security flaws and don't use it. Like, now they've gone the other way, and they're very, very obviously transparent, and they're trying to make sure that no one's surprised. So, I think that's a good thing in a way.
Yeah, they put that thing in the little app for when you turn the volume down. It warns you've got no volume. There are constant requests and questions coming into the community forum about that, arguing about it. Why you keep telling me my volume's down? So yeah, they're very helpful and very protective. But the problem is their apps have all got all these abilities. I mean, it's a bit like mobile phones, isn't it? And Google apps. You've got all these options, and when you accept the app, you say, I'll allow this and I'll allow that. That's the rabbit hole that Zoom are now going to find themselves going down. If the options are different for every single machine, every single app, then they're going to have to sit there and work out the rules for every single app, which is fine for you, fine for me. It's not good news for Frank. It's not good news for me that I have a lot of medical people who come into medical meetings on their own machines or on company machines running Zoom when Zoom's banned by the central authority. Yes, and then I have somebody who can't get into anything, so they have to come in via the browser. So this is great, but we almost need an overarching app that says globally you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that unless I let you, and be able to override all the apps to say, in your case, you're not going to allow these certain things to happen, whatever the apps say, wherever you are, whatever group you join, however you log in, etc., etc.
I think that's an important point. So the Zoom Marketplace, unlike some maybe Apple or somebody else, when it's a Zoom app, we've done a privacy and security assessment of Zoom, and they've passed. But all the individual apps in the marketplace are a separate contract between you and that company. And if you read the privacy statements by those companies, many of the companies say that they reserve their right to capture meeting information, images, text, email addresses, whatever. And they also say they reserve the right to do stuff with that data to their own purposes. So, this is a Zoom app in the Zoom marketplace, but you have to be very careful about what other apps. And some hosts don't consider their guests' privacy and security. They're consenting on behalf of other people, and I wish Zoom would take more of a like, in the App Store for Apple, like you have to meet criteria. I wish Zoom would enforce criteria on all of their partners in the marketplace so that there was more trust.
I have some further clarification, and it's entirely possible that I'm the only one who's confused about this, so I apologize if I am. But the question about why, when someone sends, when I send you an invitation, the pop-up that you get doesn't say accept, it says open. And so then you're opening the apps. And so the question of why are they opening the app if they don't have to have the app installed? So the app needs to be open, but it doesn't need to be visible. So when you're invited to the app, you're opening it in guest mode. You're not installing it, but your settings can be controlled. This is why the app is so low friction. You don't have to think about Marketplace at all as an end user who we presume is not technical. So you don't need the app installed, but using it in guest mode means the app is open. And I think, Ray, you had said before that that's how the communication is happening. The installed app is speaking to the guest app, as it were. And so that's why there's that two steps. First step is open the app. Second step is authorize or give permission. And Frank, just as a there's a dot. I'll pop this in the chat. There is an app review process and certain criteria for all developers in the marketplace. I will pop that here for you.
Some, but you still have to read each marketplace app, unless it's changed radically. Still has its own set of agreements that you're agreeing to.
Yeah.
David, could you please try inviting me again? Because I think that what you just said, where it says open, I think it's only if you have the app installed. Try inviting me again, would you?
Yep, I just sent you an invitation.
Okay, it does say open or ignore, but the one in the chat says open. So I'm going to click ignore on the one that says you want to buy this thing. And I'll
Well,
click,
once you do that, I don't think the other one will work because all the prompts are the same.
it's now open. Now I get an accept.
Oh, okay. So now I got it. Right. So because you opened the app, you didn't install it, you just opened it. Now you can hide it. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Now you've given me control.
Mm-hmm. So you could change things now.
Correct.
Okay, that then.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
So I just want to, as usual, I think that part of what's fascinating about this is the app itself and what we're able to do with it. The other piece that's fascinating about this is what can be built on top of this, right? Zoom Cuts is a great example of this. Zoom Cuts is, and the integration with Shortcuts, Apple Shortcuts is a fascinating as an app itself, or as I should say, as a client, as a Zoom client itself. But what's really exciting about it is how that can be integrated and built upon within the Zoom client itself. And coincidentally, if anyone wants to give some feedback on Zoom Cuts, they are getting ready to start thinking about integrating that directly into the client. And so this is a great, springtime is a great time to give them some feedback on that. But the same thing is true with this. What do we want to see in this? What kind of remote control? What are the different use cases that this might be really powerful for? It could be understanding all of the concerns, or not concerns, but the questions around security and privacy and all of that. I think this could be a really powerful tool. Again, I would love to see some, if for using this in production, and if the key focus of this is around that audio piece, having meters in here would just be kind of amazing.
Yeah.
I would recommend, coming from my perspective, that if I can give you control to mute and unmute, I don't want you to have to ask every time, because if I get up and walk away, that's a reason you would have to mute, and I wouldn't be here to accept it. So I would think that when you give control to this thing, that it should be a blanket control for the things that I've agreed for you to do.
Well, in that regard, Lois, you just triggered something in my head. What I would really like to see in the mute unmute button is a triple state. I want it muted, I want it unmuted, or I would allow the host or co-host to unmute me at will. And that way, if you were going to step away and you really didn't want anyone to be able to control it, you could set it to muted. But if you were going to be a guest, participant, and you just wanted to be able to be muted and unmuted by the host, that sort of intermediary step would actually be better than the thing that asks you when you come into a meeting, would you like to allow the host to unmute you and mute you?
Well, that's not an app. That's just a question that gets asked as you enter a meeting. When you
Correct.
accept that, at that point, can the host mute and unmute you without you having to do extra work? Or is it still?
Absolutely. If you've acknowledged that, they can.
Great. Okay.
I think the challenge for Zoom is that users don't take ownership of their own mistakes. So someone will click on that and then be outraged later on when something happens. I see that a lot in tech support when I'm helping people. They click the button and they either didn't understand it or they forgot they clicked it, and then later they're outraged when it behaves the way they've granted permission for it to do so.
Well, there are things that Zoom could do, and you're right. I mean, does anybody take ownership of that? How often do you go into the settings app and look at the section of who you've permitted to do that? And you can revoke those right there. So maybe once a quarter or once a year, that ought to pop up for you in your Zoom app that, hey, we'd like for you to review who you've allowed to unmute you. I don't know. It's like the annual license agreement. Nobody knows, nobody really knows, pays attention to when their licenses are going to renew if they've got an annual renewal. But when you get the big bill the following month that, oh my God, they renewed everything. Zoom sends somebody an email, but not everybody knows to take care of that and look at that themselves. Do you know when your license annually renews?
Mine just did because I got a big bill.
I was going to say my
June the
accounting
2nd.
department does. Yeah.
June the 2nd. I know mine. Yeah.
Yep. Hey, Robert, I think we may have beaten this to death, at least for this week. I'm not sure. An hour and a half, but it's really interesting.
It's interesting to see, David, that you have lots of power but no control.
Lots of power but no control. Were you able to get your Mimo Live up and chugging?
Yeah, I'm going to show you a couple of things if that's okay. It'll be no sound because I don't want the sound to loop, and I haven't had enough time to do all the mix minuses.
So before you just tell us what are you doing and why are you doing it?
Okay, I've done a share screen. Maybe it's not the right thing to do, but I've done it anyway. And the reason I'm looking at Mimo Live is that Mimo Live will do what ZoomISO does. In other words, take out the ISO feeds from a Zoom meeting and allow you to do production, and a lot of production. I'll show you a couple of examples with lower thirds and everything. And it's a very, very powerful tool. And it's a very, very stable tool. It's been on the market for a while. And I was, just so that everyone understands, Mimo Live, I thought, that's a strange name. And Mimo Live actually means multiple input, multiple output live, nothing else. An engineer came up with that one, you can tell. Okay, I'm just going to...
And by the way, Robert, vMix now has this in the same functionality. OBS, there's a plugin for the same functionality, and it is in process. It's coming to Ecamm. We're slow, But yes, Mimo Live has really done an amazing job with this integration.
So I'm just moving across to another computer. It looks a bit strange, but that's the way I've got it set up at the moment. And we are live with just a test pan. And I'm just going to put on one person to show the way that you can easily switch between people. And I'm going to go up to a, oh, that's better. So I can just show individual people, or I can add people. Oh, I've got a source bad source over there. Someone's left the meeting. Or put the second person in and put the people of choice, or do a 3 up, 4 up, whatever the formatting is required, which is quite cool. And with the individual sources, I can cut them as well, very simply, very easily, just moving from one to the other. And this isn't high spotlighting or anything like that. And then I have something which is very, very nice to use, and that's the carousel. Oh, someone's left. Sorry, I think Lois went in and went out while I was setting this up, so I've lost her. And this is the carousel that allows us to put us into this sort of format and move us around the carousel.
When would you ever use that?
Well, in corporate meetings, you have things like games and quizzes.
Oh, wait, that was cool. What just happened was cool. Hold on. It didn't look like this before. This is cool now.
Of course it's cool. That's why I'm showing it to you.
Okay, but you wouldn't want to run this within a meeting. You'd want to have an external meeting because there's a horrendous lag on this.
This is a big lag only because I'm sending it out by RTMP from one machine into Vimeo, and then from Vimeo I'm capturing it and putting it back onto your screen. I haven't got the right version to set up with the virtual cam and to have 0 latency. It's also
that's okay. As long as that's the reason, that's fine, because the latency is horrendous.
It's big because of RTMP, but you can also do NDI outputs. And the beauty about this is I am running the ZoomISO and Mimo Live on one Mac Mini, and I'm doing it with 8 inputs. I was doing it with 8 inputs earlier on. We've tested it with 10.
Wait, Robert, I'm sorry. You said you're running ISO, you're running ZoomISO, but I thought you were grabbing all these directly from Mimo Live.
I'm running the, it is coming all from Mimo Live. There's no ZoomISO behind it, but there is the SDK with ZoomISO built into it to pull out the individual ISO feeds.
Yes.
So I'm not running ZoomISO per se, but I'm getting all of the ISO feeds from Zoom in here. And it's super, super, super stable from all the tests that we've done. And we've run it on cloud machines, so Mac Minis in the cloud, which is really useful because when you're in the cloud, you can get 10 gigs of internet capacity to do anything you want, stream in, stream out with no limitation. And it can be controlled remotely by more than one person. So that's really, really nice.
Robert, a question. Yep. You said that you're not putting out the audio. I understand that. But if you were putting out the audio, would it automatically supersede the sound from Zoom?
Well, if you know, this is it depends how you're using it. If you're using it in a webinar situation where you've got a group of panelists and you're putting this into the feed into the to the webinar, I would hold the webinar as a separate event from the place that I have all of the panelists. So I'd have a production environment, and then I'd have an environment where I have the attendees. And in that way, I can have whatever audio I want. I can have the individual speakers or a mix going through.
Okay, Robert. So
because there's so much of a difference between what we see in Zoom happening in live time and what we see on your screen, which is very, very, very delayed.
It has to be delayed because it's going through RTMP. That's the way I've just set it up. This isn't the way it'll work default. I just did a quick and easy way of putting it through RTMP because I didn't have the facility to put it through NDI onto the second machine and feed it into the actual Zoom meeting. If you do it that way, there'd be less than 1 second delay. So going back, I personally like these.
Robert, have you tried using Backstage to put the speakers in and then you could project it into the webinar version?
Well, Backstage is one thing, but if you're referring to Zoom Production Studio, where we can put it into different things, then I have, and I don't know if I should say this here, but I've given up.
Yeah, but you can have all your presenters on Backstage. That means they're still in the same loop for chat and Q&A, and then you could put your live person on your live whatever the software is onto the webinar stage, and then you could take their speeches from Backstage or through this app, make them all look pretty, and then present it on the main stage. That would sound quite good. I assume it would work.
I haven't tested where ZoomISO will be taking the feeds from when it comes to Backstage. I haven't tested it, so I don't know. I don't have an opinion yet. But yes, you're right. You could do it that way. So I didn't get a chance to show you the bottom thirds, but the bottom thirds are also inbuilt and can be associated with each input. And can be a video or an audio. Sorry, a video or a still. So that's really good.
That carousel feature was really nice.
It's pretty, isn't it?
I liked that.
It's effective.
Is it random, or the movement of the carousel, is it random, or is it sort of like in Zoom active speaker?
No, I was actually
You were turning
clicking on it. I was turning on it.
Gotcha.
Turning it, and of course all of the logos, the colors, and everything. You can put in whatever you want.
Nice.
And just the thing that amazes me about Mimo Live is that I've been using it now for a week. The learning curve is really, really short. It's not steep, and sure, I've attended labs where we've gone in and done things, but the labs aren't for newbies. They're really for the advanced people. So they haven't been helping in learning. They've only been helpful in learning what you can do and how to do it. Yep, so much for that.
Thank you very much. I just answered my own question. It seems from the spec that it's Zoom Meeting as the source. It doesn't say it could do Zoom Webinar.
I haven't tried it with Webinar at all, but no one has tried it with Webinar, so I don't know.
Well, on the sales page, it says Zoom Meeting Source, so I'm assuming that they don't do Webinar yet. Which version were you using? The Studio version?
The middle one, not the
Studio. Yeah,
the Studio one. Yeah, but this is a trial. I've got it on trial at the moment. There was you get it on trial for 2 weeks to test it out. And the good thing about doing it and taking it for trial is you can see if it'll actually work on your machines. And like I said, we've found a co-hosting place in Estonia, which has Mac Minis co-hosted, and we've run it from them, and it's super easy and super clean.
Nice.
But it is
Right.
it is based on Zoom. Zoom is the transport protocol and the transport engine that sits behind it. So, yeah.
So Ray Harwood is now coming in with the same type of technology using vMix, I believe.
It's the first time I've actually tried it, so I'm not really sure how I'm going to get it done, but
So he says he's asking
Ray,
for
I can help you
recording.
walk through it since you got it working.
all right, cool.
Okay.
Participant
so-
source, I can actually pick someone to actually be my second camera, I guess.
Yeah, again, it's similar to the way of adding inputs. You should have just be able to right mouse on the actual input itself. Once you do your add source at the bottom, just go down and Zoom will be in the bottom of the list.
Got audio source, and what I don't really have is I've picked the camera, but I don't know. Oh, there's Open Zoom Manager. There we are.
Yeah, and that will Zoom Manager. What Zoom Manager does is it allows you to have chat. So you actually now have live chat with the room through there, and you'll be
Yeah.
able to see chat back. So everybody just saw Ray put that in there from chat. So that's you type that in vMix. So that came from the vMix client. Well, in vMix, it is a bit transparent in that regards. And so you should be able to quickly, Ray, as you add the different sources in at the bottom,
Right.
you should be able to then right mouse once you had one source in, then you right mouse on it. And then you'll be able
Okay.
you'll have your different options. And then you can actually choose who individually you want to bring in.
Oh, okay. Well, that's going to take me some more work. But yeah, okay, cool. It's the first time I've actually tried it.
So Mike, have they okayed having more than 4 inputs from Zoom into vMix?
Again, yeah. So the official answer is, and again, this is the official answer when it comes to all of Zoom. And again, it's based on, and again, with vMix, you will always have 30 megabit per second max. So what that means is it's not limited on how many inputs you have, because that is a fallacy. I don't know where that information came from. It's limited to the amount of bandwidth that the vMix client is allowed to pull, which is 30 megabit per second. Okay. So that could be everybody at 360, which means you're really pulling only like half meg to meg. So that could be 30. Or if you go up to 1080p, of course, and you're using about 4 to 5 meg, then you're limited to 6, right? And again, it just depends on your quality level. And in vMix, you can actually choose, as Ray is going through the different menus there, you could actually choose what bit rate or what resolution you want. So you can go all the way down to 360 or 720 or 1080 as your choice per input. So if you knew that the host or the main person speaking, you wanted to make sure it was 1080p, you could actually do that as bring them in as 1080p.
Yeah. I don't think it was a fallacy. They actually officially announced that when they started off, just after the beta, that they had 4 sources, restriction of 4 sources. So they must have increased it now.
Yeah,
And,
when I was in the beta, I know I was able quickly when I was working, had done it in the beta, I was able to do 8 without any issues. And that was in the beta process. So it's only been improved since that. And that was about mid beta when I was trying that.
Okay. Okay.
But again, what it comes down to is, again, it will always come down to your bandwidth, which is going to be the most important, because you have to bring down, if you were allocated that 30 megabit per second, so you will have to have at least 30 megabit down. And then on top of that too, if you are sending, so then it becomes whatever vMix is sending out to. And of course, it always comes down to the horsepower of the vMix machine you always have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you don't have, let's say, anything else that is super system intensive running, so NDI plus Zoom plus that would just be a killer to any machine, just because of the capabilities of NDI being such a consumer or the computer hog as it is by default. But when it comes to vMix itself, I was running it easily, and I didn't even have a dedicated NVIDIA, and I was able to bring in 88 feeds during one of our meetings. No issues.
Very cool. With the with Mima Live, one of the things that we've also tested is you can run two what they call documents. In other words, one instance with two sort of documents open on the same computer. And what we've been testing now is to have a horizontal mode and a vertical mode for a mobile. So we frame the vertical differently from the horizontal, send them out as feeds, RTM feed, two separate RTM feeds. And because the beauty of, and I didn't know this, but the Mac Minis have 264 encoders in them. So when you're streaming to YouTube, you're actually not occupying, you're not taking over any processor time because they've got the encoders at the chip level in the Mac Minis, which is really cool. They've got 264, 265, and I think, what's the Adobe one? Pro.
ProRes?
Black, ProRes. It's ProRes.
Blackmagic one?
Blackmagic one, sorry.
Yeah, and again, that is just because Apple put it in their silicon, which is different, right? Again, that's within the actual die of the CPU, where the GPU is in there. So yes, but again, in the vMix world, you would definitely have to have to get the full capabilities of that. You definitely have to have a half-decent NVIDIA card.
So that's also really nice because within the Mac Mini, you pull in the Zoom ISOs. And via Siphon, you can throw them into two different, I don't want to call it instances, but they're called documents in Mimo Live language. And it looks like two instances where you can format and frame everything differently and have the vertical for mobiles and the horizontal for a YouTube type laptop.
There's that has been an often requested feature over in the Ecamm Live world. Can I send out both a vertical and a horizontal? And they don't have that yet. They haven't added that. But what they did, which is okay, is they added in a little overlay, which no one else would see except you. And I'm not even sure if you're going to be able to see it. It's very, very faint. But it basically shows me what's the safe zone for vertical video. So it's right there's the one edge and here's the other edge, and so I can now look and say I'm in the safe zone or I'm out of the safe zone. They're still working on how to make this better, but it sounds like Mimo Live has done a really nice job of setting that up.
That's clever because that's the person who has the who's looking at his screen and you can see his framing area. Yeah, so he knows when he's moving in and out of frame.
Right.
That's not what Mimo Live does, because in Mimo Live you're in a Zoom meeting, so you're just looking at your Zoom camera and everything's going out as ISO feeds. Yeah? But definitely the whole idea of framing people pre-show is changing now with the vertical format.
Which I just cannot stand. I'm old enough that I just it drives me a little berserk. But we're losing this battle, us old farts, with our landscape videos. We are absolutely losing that battle.
Get some goggles.
Get some goggles, right. John, were you able to get a client in? Are you still with us?
I'm still with you, and no, I wasn't able to get the client in.
Oh, okay, alrighty.
But I will try and get it for next
Ray,
week.
have you had any luck? You're on mute. No.
I've got the Steam VR set, but I don't have the Apple goggles.
No, I mean getting your client in.
Oh no! I kind of gave up on that.
Okay.
There's more I have to learn and study. I'm actually about to run off. I've got another little presenter consult I got to do with a client, and next week I won't be here because it's the very start of my New Zealand thing, and they've got over 2,500 registrants already.
Wow.
And adding close to 100 every day. So by the end of next week and through the event, we'll add more. We'll probably be well over 3,000 registrants, and we'll see how many attendees we get. So it's going to be pretty cool.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Good luck with that, right? Good
Yeah.
luck. Have fun with
Thanks a
that.
lot. I'll give you guys a full report after I recover.
Yes, absolutely. We need that. Absolutely.
Take care.
So, do we have anything else, my friends? We're about to hit that hour, but
I have a couple of things.
yeah, please.
I'm not going to tell you as usual, but I've read ahead. It's going to be a very busy month for us when we have Zoom Test Kitchen. There's a lot coming, a lot, and some of it will be very popular stuff that's been asked for a long time. My understanding of the Zoom culture and their cadence is each quarter, near the end of the quarter, they try to do a big update. And it's almost April. Well, it's not, but by the time all this unfurls, I guess maybe April's the start of quarter two, Q2 or something. So there'll be a lot coming in the coming weeks.
That's exciting. Do you have a sense that it's a lot of forward-facing things or more back-end type of stuff? Quality of life.
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
But the tool keeps evolving. As long as they meet their shipping dates, like they always reserve the right to not release on the dates they're targeting. But there's going to be a lot to talk about.
That's wonderful. That's great. Very good.
Yeah, except they're going to close a loophole that I'm taking advantage of at the moment, which is I'm running 500-seat webinars using Backstage by having a Zoom sessions license.
And they're taking that away from you?
They found out, and they're going to be rescinding that very soon and changing the way you use it. So,
should have said that while Ray was here. He probably has a few thoughts.
Yeah.
I've talked to them directly about it, so they know I'm doing it, and they say it's going in the spring, and spring has sprung. So there's also a suggestion they may stop doing the 100-seat sessions license. I hope on monthly. I hope they don't, because it's a good way for people to get into the system and try it out. But we'll have to see.
They're always tinkering with the licenses. I know there's a Zoom Basic Plus license, which I can't find advertised anywhere, but people tell me they have purchased.
Zoom Basic Plus?
Yeah, so it's basically, if I can recall, four times a month you get to have excess of 100 people in your meeting, but you don't pay as much as a regular pro license. There's some other stuff. It's Ray also knows about it.
Yeah.
Did you actually find it listed somewhere? Because I've never found it.
It's in the Zoom community. 4 meetings a month that can go beyond the 40-minute time limit.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Interesting. Look at that.
I know in my market segment, I think we're grandfathered onto the type of license we have, but there's also Zoom Pro 1 for education now, which didn't used to be a thing. They're always evolving these licenses.
It says here that I upgraded to Basic Plus. There's an extend button in the upper left corner of the interface during the Zoom call, not before, not after, but during, and that's how you use
more than 40 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, fascinating. I had no idea that existed.
But I can't find it advertised anywhere. So.
Wow. Oh, well, again,
Yeah,
we
I
should
was
have
going to
asked
say,
Ray.
because he knows about it.
No, I've read what Ray's posted online. He can't find it either. I think you have to call sales, and maybe they'll hook you up if you call them, but they don't seem to advertise it.
It's interesting. Oh, I see. No. He asked the question. He's never seen it before, right?
Actually, yeah, this is actually up to date as of today. Ray was asking. The one that I'm looking at.
Yep.
I've asked too, and it's sort of a myth, but it's not a myth. Like, I think it exists. It's just I don't think they promote it very much. Maybe they're testing. Maybe they're trying out different license configurations before they decide if they're going to be mainstream things or not.
It's a good idea, though. Again, it's like John, you were saying. It's a way to get people hooked, right? You give them that the 4 times, and they're going to want more. So then they upgrade to Pro. It's a really
Yeah,
interesting
definitely,
idea.
definitely. Once you get into Zoom, it gets harder to get out of it. I suppose the same thing can be said in a way for Teams as well. But yeah, we are, as I said, I do a lot of medical conferences for the doctors, so it's training outside the actual NHS. Now, the NHS, as far as I know, doesn't have a HIPAA compliant Zoom client and just doesn't allow Zoom in the normal workings. They're a Microsoft group and they use Teams. But when you're running training webinars, yeah, there's not much point in using Teams because it just doesn't give you the facilities that Zoom does. So we do it separately under a separate account with Zoom events. And yes, I have to make sure the security is all well and good, especially as we're doing conferences on women's bits. So yeah, if a Zoom bomber came into that meeting, I think we'd put the fear of God into them. They wouldn't want to come back again.
Interesting.
But the meetings we do at the moment, we use Backstage. So I use a Zoom Sessions license to get me the facilities of Backstage, but I run it within a webinar, which gives me 500 seats when I've only paid 100 for sessions. And this is, as you say, as Zoom keeps changing the licenses and adding new products, you get these loopholes, these unintended consequences of you able to use one feature within something else, etc., etc. And that's the loophole that we're sitting in the moment. And it gives us more security because it gives us a 500 seat license without us having to keep buying all these Zoom session vouchers, which are expensive for a not-for-profit training organization and also complicated to administer.
You can also do the per person model, right?
Yeah, you can do it per person, but you buy like vouchers. So you buy 100 or 600, and then you just use them up every time you run a Zoom Sessions event.
In the course of a year or something, right?
You have a year before they expire. So if you buy 600 and you use them in 6 months, then you buy another 500, another 600. You've got another year from the day you bought them to use those up. So you just
then
keep
you need a
rolling them on.
spreadsheet. How long do these licenses last?
Yeah, and you also, and then in the hands of, you've made a commitment. It's like I know all these events and sessions things are changing, so I don't want to spend $3,500 for a Zoom Sessions license when I might decide in 2 months' time I've gone the wrong way and I either want to go to vouchers or I want a full events license for a year. So it does make planning. It makes planning harder when you're doing external events for people and you're making commitments 3 months ahead and you're thinking, well, I hope Zoom doesn't do an update in the meantime.
Robert has experience with this.
Get me wound up, Frank.
So I wish David was here, but we looked at like the remote settings app today is a Zoom app from the Zoom Marketplace. Zoom has other Zoom apps in the Zoom Marketplace. They have a beta streaming app right now that I haven't ever used, but I'd be curious to talk about that at some time. And they also have a music app that allows you to play music that I guess is copyright cleared through some company. And they also have another app, and maybe in future David could explore some of those things. I'm curious about the Zoom streaming app and how that works.
It'll be interesting to see if they've made the changes to that, because when we tested it, you could only stream to your own YouTube or whatever it is accounts. You had to associate your Zoom account with that account. They didn't have the option of putting in an RTMP key.
I don't know a lot about it. I know it streams to multiple destinations at the same time, but I didn't know that.
The problem that I'm running into with the test kitchen is that we pre-schedule our streams, and I haven't figured out how to do that with the streaming app.
I don't know if you were listening when you walked away to check the
Sorry,
door or
I
whatever.
wasn't.
No. I was just saying there's other Zoom Marketplace apps. There's the streaming app. There's the music app. There's the app you showed today, and there's one other one I think they're called Zoom Essentials.
There are a bunch of Zoom Essentials, yeah.
Yeah, but some of those I think are more like a trusted partner status. I'm only interested in the ones that Zoom make right now, but have you ever used the music one? I guess they have an agreement with the third-party music licensing broker.
Really?
So I guess you're copyright cleared for that because through Zoom. Anyways, I think it's things we can explore in further shows.
It's funny. I would never even worry about copyright issues playing music in a Zoom meeting unless I'm streaming the music.
What about a hybrid meeting where, we're all from different parts of the world, but I mean, there are licenses in Canada about live venues where you have to have you have to pay royalties for live music in a venue as well as what's happening online. So hybrid would be one situation where you might want to indemnify yourself that way.
Right. Right.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I'm going to steal a line from Robert. Don't get me started. Yeah. When it comes to the SOCAN licensing for the States. And then of course, in the US, we're talking about BMI, ASCAP, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and I think there's another category for, performance, like showing films or playing music in a venue that's public or for profit or whatever, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. In Canada. Yeah. There's also
hotels and places have to deal with this.
Yeah. That's the old yeah. They used to call it the AVLA, which is the Audio Video Licensing Association, which is that one now has gotten rolled into, it's not SOCAN, but it's another,
Sure.
that's taking it over in Canada.
The bigger point was, there's these other Zoom marketplace apps that I'm curious about, but I haven't spent a lot of time.
We can
learning about.
definitely play with some of them. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I put in chat. I don't know if you guys saw it or not. I did put in chat what the actual interface looks like from the streaming app in Zoom.
And custom doesn't allow RTMP?
Didn't up to now. This is the first time I've seen the custom. I haven't looked at it for a while, so maybe this is something we should try out next time.
Yeah, that was me doing that actually live, guys. So let me just see if I can pull that up again. Let me see. All right. Yeah, so there's the live streaming. Now, how can I share that? Let me see. I can share screen. Of course I can.
While you're doing that, I'm pretty sure it says it's still in beta, so more development may yet happen.
Right. It's not telling me it's beta, but that doesn't mean like when I'm in the app, it's not telling me that it's beta.
I thought I saw that on the marketplace, where it has the information about it.
Right. Okay. All right. So this is going to be a bit of doubleness, but here we go. All right. So do you guys see it or no? Going once, going
We
twice.
can just see your graphics.
See
cross-track.
cross tracks.
All right. Yeah. So that didn't work. All right. Let me try that.
Looks like
again.
you're sharing a whiteboard or something.
Yeah. No, it did shows. All right. One more time. Let's see here now. That's that screen. Just trying to. Might be acting a little weird here. Depending on my layout here.
While you're doing that.
All right. So if I share now, okay, no, and no, and no. There we go. You guys see this?
See your desktop with all your apps, Windows.
Okay, just checking. Oh, it's actually not showing it. Okay, all right. It's on the screen, but it's not actually showing. Because it's attached. Let's see if I can detach it somehow. Pop out. Okay, so I popped it out now. Can I actually just share it? Let's see. Ah, I can, I think. I'm gonna cross my fingers. How's that?
Yeah, seeing some
All right.
now, some
There
kind of
you go.
interface.
Yeah, so that's it popped out. So when you pop it out, that's what it looks like. So we're in in the beginning portion of it. So then you just click on the add channel.
Okay.
Then you get those 4 different boxes.
Before you click anything,
Yep.
support for Facebook, Google, and Pages. And what? Pages coming soon. That's the last one. Pages is coming soon. Login support for Facebook, Google groups, and Pages is coming soon. Okay.
Yeah, Facebook Pages I don't think supports yet.
Okay, so I'm going to click on custom. So there you go. For Robert, there's RTMP. So name, key, RTMP, stream page. Oh, and then
That is
again,
very cool.
go back into YouTube. Of course, it's going to ask me to log in. Of course it is. Yeah. And yeah, so so the YouTube function is similar to the way David was doing the streaming function, which when I clicked on YouTube, it wanted me to log into Zoom, my Zoom account, and then it probably would have went through the whole allow process and then gone to YouTube. With Facebook, same thing.
I'll put a link in the chat to the marketplace page for this.
Okay. Yeah, so same thing there, and I'm going to assume same thing for Twitch too, where it's going to ask me to log in. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the other one. Oh, 2 of the other Zoom apps. There's one for badges now. If you know what badges are, they're little digital certificates you can get for doing things. Sometimes they're portable and you can put them on your LinkedIn page, but I think Zoom's trying to gamify Zoom more so that people get more engagement. And then they have a Zoom group photos app that allows you, instead of trying to take a screenshot, you're supposed to be able to take better screenshots of people in meetings as a group. Anyways, yeah, that's cool. I've never used it. I've heard about it, but I didn't ever try it.
Yeah, it does look really cool. I've never tried it, but I've definitely added it for myself. And again, like John was talking about before, there's certain apps that I've given myself because again, I'm a min over our corporate account. So there's certain apps that I've given myself, and of course, there's certain apps that I've given the employees. And in that case, the streaming one, I've given the capability to all my techs in my tech group, along with myself, that I put myself into, but also the one today, the remote control one, I'm going to test it out first. So I assigned it to myself specifically, and then I'll test it out. And then if it's okay, then I'll give it to my technical guys as
Do you
well.
mind if I screen share for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the badges one. May not be exciting for you guys, but for education. So you can create different sessions, I guess, because it'll track the badges, so you can actually export the results as a CSV and put them in gradebooks and stuff. So there's, the creation aspect, a little bit of information about it, and then you can see some of the badges this person's been awarded so far. I don't know and then here's the tally that is exportable, so you could bring that into a learning management system. So if the instructor's saying, well, you're contributing to the chat, you're engaging, I'm going to give you a badge every time. So at the end of a meeting or at the end of a semester, you could say, Leah is really engaged a lot, so she's going to earn the maximum 5% of the course total for this badge collection exercise.
Yeah, that's really neat.
There's some
It is
other
quite
things
clever.
coming up I can't talk about yet, but there's some other engagement stuff coming before the end of the month that will be built directly into the Zoom client, not as a standalone thing.
Yeah, that's really neat. It'll I want to bring up that we don't need no stinking badges, but that's cool. Sorry, was that a movie reference? That was a movie
Yeah,
reference. Yeah,
badgers.
yeah. But yeah, it's really cool. So I just asked the YouTube crew watching us on YouTube, hello YouTube, if there's any further questions to us here. Anything else, John? We missed you, John. You've been gone for a while.
It's always good news, though, isn't it?
Well, you know, we like our UK people too, you know.
Well, as a Zoom community champion, you know, I have certain things I need to do, but
So I have a question about Zoom in the UK.
There we go.
yeah.
Culturally, some places embrace other, different tools. Like, would you say that Zoom is more popular than Teams in the UK, or is it, every instance is different? Like, it varies depending, or is there any cultural, like in North America, I don't think a lot of people use WhatsApp. Everyone uses iMessage as an example of a cultural difference, right?
Yeah, I would say that in the private community, Zoom is quite popular. In the corporate world, Microsoft did a very good job in, what can I say, rubbishing Zoom when it first came out. They were aggressively going at it in the UK. And I can't put this politely, so I'm not going to. Apologies, but Zoom IT professionals are overworked, underpaid, and not knowledgeable enough for the stuff that they do because they're overwhelmed. And therefore, given the choice of do we continue to use Teams, which Microsoft gave us, or do we let this stuff like Zoom in? Obviously, they don't want Zoom because it just makes their life more complicated. So in a lot of corporates, there is an effective ban on Zoom. Other corporates just ignore it. When there are meetings that are not implemented by the corporate body, then it tends to be a Zoom type event. So outside the corporate environment, Zoom seems to be leading. Inside the corporate environment, Microsoft is putting its foot down, and IT departments are putting their foot down, and Zoom is not getting. I'm not seeing Zoom getting the penetration. I don't think they even talk about a hipper version of it in the UK. So I think that's the state of play at the moment. I'm guessing that there are probably not as many staff in the UK or the Europe compared to the States to go in there and promote and waggle the system and get Zoom used more. But definitely outside of the corporate environment, I think Zoom is very popular, especially in the hobbyist and the people. I'm always getting comments from people who, I suppose the biggest thing that made me realise that it's well used is when the 40-minute ban was actually implemented by Zoom, where they forced 40 minutes, that's it, you cut off. There was a lot of chatter about people complaining. But, they were complaining that they were using a tool for free, and now that tool had put a time limit on them.
Frank, on continental Europe, it's more or less the same as what John described. The only thing I would add is that Cisco has been very good with putting WebEx into conference rooms and giving the app available to the legal entities. There's just because of Cisco, there's this very strong feeling of security. So wherever a high level of security, WebEx is the preferred platform. And what we've noticed is that if there is a Microsoft Teams user and we can't go in with Zoom, we can go in with WebEx. So we actually use WebEx in certain production situations, especially with interpretation, because WebEx interpretation is super good compared with the Microsoft solution.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and I've also I've noticed that the WebEx guys are actually doing a really good job of, not as many packages in their pricing plans. Robert, you can probably help me a little more on this. But when it comes to price competitive, yes. Feature rich, everybody, there are a lot of different sites that will say Zoom has this, WebEx has this. Funny that a lot of them are not saying Zoom has this, Teams has that, but a lot of it is becoming now Zoom has this, WebEx has this. And there's a lot of comparing going on between those two as comparing Zoom to Teams.
Yeah, because WebEx is a proper webinar-based system that works really well. and Teams, with all due respect, has no real great facility for doing large events in a useful way. In a way, that's actually an advantage for WebEx because they're not directly competing with Teams. They can get in. And of course, they've got all the Cisco, as you say, reliability and security and all that sort of thing. They can trade on the Cisco brand, which is a fantastic product.
Yeah. And the other thing about WebEx is that if you do have a technical issue, you are put in touch with a Cisco engineer. And it's a challenge actually to deal with them because they are looking at a very granular level of potential problems that have to be addressed. With what I find with Microsoft Teams, on the other hand, is if we have an issue, they will dedicate someone to us who is like a front-end person for 6 to 8 hours during the day to try and resolve that issue. And that person will contact the engineers inside of Microsoft 24/7. So they have a different philosophy. With Zoom, for us, because we're not a corporate client, we're just a business client, the support sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that has been talked a lot about. I know that if Ray was here, he would say that he hears that a lot in the community. I know that for a fact. Frank, you can probably vouch for that as well, that's talked about.
Yep. I'll say because we're a corporate client, our Zoom support's very good. But if you're an individual user and you don't have more than 10 licenses, you're basically stuck with the community forum and AI bots trying to answer questions, and you can't talk to a real person, and it's terrible.
Yeah, you're stuck with me. Sorry.
Actually, Frank, I do have that level of license. I do have a business license, and I do have a sessions license, and I do have additional licenses, and we do have access to the support, but it's a different type of support that you have.
Yeah.
And if I specifically manage to go through 3 days of just knocking someone on the head, I'll finally get to an engineer. There is no sense of urgency in Zoom from my perspective.
Yeah, you're right. In my particular situation, I can escalate to tier 2 immediately. I don't have to stop at begin at tier 1. And I also have a customer service rep who can put me in touch with an engineer right away, and I've talked to lots of Zoom engineers over the years, but regular people don't have that. And I don't know what Zoom's going to do. They're going to have to decide, but for a lot of people, it's very frustrating. I also understand, if you're a free user and you're never going to spend a cent with Zoom, how much should they help you? How do you get Microsoft Teams help? I don't know where you get that if you're not. If you're just a regular Teams user.
How do you get Google support if you?
Well, exactly, like Google Meet or whatever. How do you don't, right? Free is the shallow end of the swimming pool.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so it sounds like we're pretty quiet on YouTube. So I think we're almost ready to wrap up.
Frank, yeah, I'm going to take off, but I just want to say thanks, and it was a good meeting as usual.
Absolutely. And if David was here, he'd say, till next week, and we'll see if it's something hot. If Frank's wishes come true, it might be. And timeline willing. And Robert's, that's interesting. Yeah. Last Mimo live demo before we disappear.
Through our TMP with all of the delay and the lag, agreed. But that's not the way to use it, put it that way.
Yeah, no, it was good that you're able to quickly band-aid it together, Robert. That's cool.
It was very cool. And I didn't frame, I didn't make any adjustments. It's just the way the feeds came in. That's the way I showed them. So there's a lot that can be done. It's one of the things we saw in Mimo Live that was also very interesting was centralizing the speakers, the talents. So the AI will automatically move them across until they're in the right frame all the time. So if they move slightly, that was quite an interesting feature that we looked at the other day as well. So lots of good things happening in the industry on the whole. Oh, you've got it running. Is that on the camera or in Zoom, John?
No,
That's an Insta 360.
Ah,
yeah, I was gonna
That's-
say, John,
that's a
John's been making it
PTZ.
seasick through the whole Zoom test kitchen.
yeah.
Yes. As it was zooming, as John was talking, of course, as his hands were moving, of course. Oh, I got to focus in on that.
Yeah, send the command. Stop. There we are.
Uh,
You won't do it anymore now.
No, all done.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much, Frank, John, and Mike.
You got it.
Have a nice weekend.
Yeah,
And you.
take care, everybody. And I'm gonna say bye to everybody on YouTube. Just waiting for Frank for the